I'll hit record and way.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Annie McMurtry, and I direct the Writing Center at the University of Utah. And I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the services of the Writing Center, possible employment opportunities at the Writing Center, and also ChatGPT. And I hope that we have a little bit of participation for that ChatGPT portion. I'm interested in whatever questions or experiences that you've had with AI and writing. So I'm going to jump right in. This is my PowerPoint presentation. This is a picture of the Writing Center. It was actually taken 2 years ago, though, so we had the COVID shield up there at the reception desk that we no longer have. But this Writing Center is located in the Marriott Library in room 2701. And I'm pushing sideways and it's not going. Hold on just a second. Oh, how'd you do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think because
Okay.
somebody needed to do it.
You did it. Okay, great. So the Writing Center offers free writing support for all undergraduate and graduate students. So we can help you with your coursework papers, with your UROP proposals or research proposals, any application materials that you might have. We've been seeing a lot of personal statements, resumes, cover letters this time of year. And so we can help you with scholarship essays, or the like. Even things like discussion posts for Canvas. So think of the Writing Center as a place where you can get help on really anything that you're working on. It can be something really small, like a summary and response, or just a response to another person's Canvas post, or it can be something very large, like your honors thesis, your dissertation, or thesis when you were a graduate student. We can help with anything that you're working on. Think romantic poetry come February, right? Or holiday letters, or the next great American novel. We can help you with anything, and it's for free. Things that we can help you with. We can help you just develop your ideas, consider your audience, citing sources. So basically, we can help with any stage of the writing process. So if you have a task and you're not really sure how to begin your paper, we can sit down with you and just have a little brainstorming sesh with you. Come up with some main points that you might hit, maybe a thesis statement, or a direction for your research, all the way to that final set of eyes when you're about to submit something. We get a lot of people actually come in, they say, all right, my paper is due at 11:59 tonight. I've already had my roommate and my mom read this, and I just want one more person to tell me that it looks all right. And we can be that final set of eyes and everything in between. So we can help with citations. We help people a lot with APA, MLA, and Chicago style, but we also occasionally help people with IEEE, AMA, and other citation styles. We might have to look those up, but we'd be happy to do that with you so that you have that support. We have live in-person tutorials in, again, Marriott Library, room 2701, or we can meet with you over Zoom. And then we also have something called e-tutoring, which is done asynchronously, where you submit your paper, and then within 48 hours, you get a written response back from a tutor. Little caveat there, though, some of the tutors on e-tutoring are University of Utah employees, but it's actually kind of like a shared tutoring pool with institutions from all across the United States. So you might submit your paper and get a written response back from somebody from Portland State or Texas A&M or UMass. So you don't know who your tutor is. I prefer the live options because it's more of a back and forth conversation. But the asynchronous option is also available, especially over breaks. Like we just had fall break, but other institutions didn't have fall break. And so you could have submitted your paper for help over fall break when our writing center was closed, and you could have still gotten some feedback. So all of these options are available on our website, which is writingcenter.utah.edu. And you click on the little tab that is associated with your current status at the University of Utah. So either undergraduate or graduate, and then there are different options for make an appointment or e-tutoring. So who are our tutors? To make an informed decision about who you choose as your tutor, you can click on the little link that is on our About page. And it says like who we are, and it has a little blurb about every one of our tutors, what their majors are, what languages they can hold tutorials in, and their favorite book, a quote, and what their writing expertise is. I'm accepting this, a little blurb I couldn't help but throw into this presentation. In April, I will be accepting applications for next year's tutors, and I very, very, very much want to encourage transfer students from other institutions to apply to be tutors in the Writing Center. You submit your application in April, we chat, have an interview, which is really friendly, in May. And then I let you know over the summer if you got the position, so that you know when we start up in August whether you have employment. Usually the first semester that you work for me, you only work somewhere between 3 and 8 hours a week as you're being trained in the Writing Center at the same time. And then after that, after your first semester, you're eligible to work up to 20 hours a week. It's a spectacular job filled with about the most friendly, wonderful people. Well, I think on the planet, but I suppose I'm probably pretty biased. But it pays $13 an hour. You get a flexible schedule. You can work in between your classes. It's an on-campus job, so it's easy to get to. It looks great on a resume, and I accept applications from students from all majors because, as you might imagine, it's not just writing and rhetoric or English majors who come into the Writing Center with their writing tasks. So I would love to have an engineer. I'd love to have a biology major, so that when somebody comes in and says, hey, I need help with this lab report, we can say, oh, great, we have a couple of biology majors right here who'd be happy to work with you. So I encourage you to apply. Again, all of this information about applying for a job, getting a tutorial at the Writing Center, it's all at writingcenter.utah.edu. All right, so here's the bulk of my presentation today. It's on ChatGPT. And so I don't know what everyone's experiences are with ChatGPT. I've presented on it a few times in the last semester or so. And early on, when I'd say, so who in the crowd has any experiences with ChatGPT? Honestly, not very many people raised their hands. They didn't know what it was or how it could be used. But we're kind of a few semesters in now, and students are starting to actually bring papers into the Writing Center that were influenced in some way by ChatGPT. So I'm kind of interested. We have a few people in the in-person audience here, and I'm interested if any of you have used ChatGPT and what your experiences are with it. Can we open it up for just a quick discussion here? Yeah, sure.
So I like to use chat. I don't know if you can hear me, but I actually use ChatGPT sometimes to critique my writing. That's primarily what I like to use it for. So I actually had come up with like a rough draft thesis statement, and I just kept looking it over and looking it over, and I was like, I need a set of eyes, but it was like over the weekend. And so I posted it into ChatGPT, and I was like, hey, will you evaluate my thesis and tell me if this makes sense, if it's good, if I'm gonna make adjustments. And it looked it over, I was like, no, this is a solid thesis statement, like these are some adjustments that I would make, but like otherwise it's very solid. And I was like, yeah, thank you so much.
Do you say thank you very much to ChatGPT?
I
do too. I know. That's great. That's great. All right, thanks, Tabitha. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Like phrasing?
Yeah.
That's great. That's one of the things we're going to talk about actually today, is using ChatGPT for phrasing. That's great. Yeah.
I was going to mention language is actually my first second language.
Yeah.
So whenever I don't understand a concept, just sometimes the professor explains it a little bit differently. So there's moments where I can't really understand the concept. So I just use it just for the have to explain the concept to me in a very simple way
I love that. I put in, hi, can you please explain quantum mechanics to me? And it just went off. And I said, no, could you please explain it to me like I'm a high school student? And then I went, oh, no, can you explain it to me like I'm an 8-year-old? And then I could understand. So yeah, it's great for understanding concepts, for phrasing, and for being another set of eyes as a possible AI tutor for your writing. That's interesting. Great. Yeah. Let me see. I use ChatGPT to compare a practice essay to the original prompt and find gaps in my writing. Awesome. How successful was it? Was it useful? Mickey? So useful. Awesome. Love it. Okay, so I'm not talking to a bunch of folks who have no idea what it is. That's great. We're gonna close this. There we go. For those who don't know, ChatGPT stands for Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It's a large language model-based chatbot that allows users to refine and steer a conversation towards a desired length, format, style, level of detail, and language. And so basically what it does is it scours the internet. It scours a bazillion things out there on a particular topic, and then it puts something together for you based on probability. Where if you put in like, it's a dark and stormy, most of us know that night would be the word that would pop up most often. And so it's not actually intelligence in the way that a lot of people think about artificial intelligence. There's no actual intelligence happening. There's no thinking. I'm putting it all in quotes. And so those of you who are joining us from Zoom can't see that I'm putting a lot of things in air quotes right now. But what it does is it just sees what's out there and it runs probability algorithms to see what the logical next word would be. And it puts it in a way that we can understand it. And it's very good at sounding very smart. Sometimes it lies to us very and seeming like they're it's very credible. And so there are some ways that it can be used irresponsibly. For instance, there was something in the news recently about a lawyer who asked ChatGPT to write something for a judge, a brief on a case, and they submitted it. And it was citing a bunch of cases that never actually took place. So ChatGPT knew what the format of a brief was, or what it was supposed to look like. It also knew that it was supposed to say, according to this name and this name from this year of this case, such and such was determined by the courts. So it knew what kind of goes into that template, so to speak, but it didn't actually do the research. Right? It didn't actually think. It's not a lawyer, right? And so it just came up with like Johnson and Harrison from 1985. Like it just came up with it, and that case never actually took place. So I'm saying all this just as like a cautionary tale about, I'm going to talk about how useful ChatGPT is, how awesome I think it is, and I really do think that it is here to stay, and it's going to change everything. I'm very excited about it. However, there are a few things that I think we should just be wary of with this new technology. Is there another message? Was that what that said?
Yeah.
Just kidding. No. Okay. I'm going to move on. Oops. Here we go. Okay, so my presentation, the rest of it will be about two things. How can ChatGPT be used responsibly in college, specifically writing assignments? So I'm going to read you something that I wrote recently, and then we'll dive right in. Okay, so a remarkable number of conversations that I've had in the past 9 months have focused on AI, specifically ChatGPT. It is definitely the hot topic in academic forums, and universities seem to be anxious to get a handle on its impact. Position statements and policies are being carefully crafted. Faculty workshops are being attended, and AI detecting software are being widely purchased. Everyone seems to have an opinion on ChatGPT's place in higher education. While I don't profess to know how ChatGPT will influence learning outside of my field, I'm excited to explore the ways in which ChatGPT may impact writing and tutoring in writing centers. After almost a year of using ChatGPT and reading scholarship on it, I developed a list of 6 ways, which are right there in front of you, in which ChatGPT can be used in writing centers or by students working on writing assignments. The rest of my presentation will explore 2 of those ways, including examples. A note, though, before we proceed. I am a writing center director, not your professor. I may not share the same set of beliefs about AI as your instructors, so please be careful when using ChatGPT when working on your research and writing assignments. Be respectful of your teacher's policies on AI, academic honesty, and citations. Okay. So if we have time, I'll even go into a couple of these other ways on my list of 6 of how ChatGPT can be used for writing. It looks like Tabitha used it as a pre-tutorial resource or as a tutor. And then we also had somebody who used it for phrasing support, and I didn't catch your name. I'm really sorry about that. So I couldn't use your name. Okay. So I'm going to talk about how we're going to use ChatGPT as a brainstorming tool or use ChatGPT for phrasing support. Okay, so quickly. So if you've never used ChatGPT before, you have to make an account. It's free, and it will keep a record of all the things that you ask it, and I'm going to put it in quotes again, learns what kinds of responses you like, because it'll ask you a thumbs up or thumbs down if you liked the response that it gave you. If you say you don't like it and you regenerate a new response, then it will, again, learn that about you so that it can give you more useful feedback in the future. So I guess the way that I accessed it the first time, I typed in ChatGPT OpenAI, and it's the first website that Google gives you. And then you create a free account, and then you can just start a conversation with this chat bot. Okay, so this is an example of something that I typed in just to give an example for you today. So I asked ChatGPT, I wrote, I'm interested in learning more about the debate surrounding universal health care. Can you give me a brief synopsis of the issue, along with the top 3 arguments for it and against it? And then it does. Universal health care is complex, and it's a complex and contentious issue that revolves around the idea of providing health care coverage to all residents of a country. Here's a synopsis and the top 3 arguments. Okay, synopsis. And here it wrote this for me. So if I didn't understand something at all, like what was it? Quantum mechanics. You can just ask it and it'll write something here as a jumping off point for future research, for future understanding. This is probably not the end all be all of your research. It shouldn't be where your research ends. It should be where your research starts. Oh, all in? All right. What was that? Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, so it gave me a synopsis here, and then the next page gives the top 3 arguments for and against universal health care. And what I think is really useful here, again, is not that this will end up in your paper per se. It's trying to understand the complexity of a topic that you've been asked to write about. So you wouldn't just copy and paste it and say, the first argument, or my first argument for universal healthcare is equitable access, because universal healthcare ensures that all citizens, regardless of their income or employment status, have access to necessary medical services. This can lead to a healthier and more productive population. End of thought, move on to the next topic. No, instead, if you're trying to understand why people are arguing about this topic, then they can take a look at what these things are, and then perhaps type it into ChatGPT to get further clarification, or that will guide maybe your search terms when you're looking at Google Scholar or one of your databases through the Marriott Library. Okay, so this just shows you that you can ask it for help understanding something. And I was specific. I'm going to go back. I was specific about what I wanted. I gave it its topic. I wanted a synopsis, and I wanted the top 3 arguments for and against it. I didn't want something super lengthy. Okay, so again, if you didn't like the complexity of what it gives you, you can always say, actually, I already knew those 3. Can you give me a more complicated understanding, or something that a healthcare provider might use in their arguments? Or you can set different parameters, I guess is what I'm trying to say, where you can name your audience of who's going to be reading it and the complexity at which you want something explained to you. So I like that as brainstorming. A lot of times in the Writing Center, we get students who come in and their counterclaim just isn't very good. They'll argue about the thing that they believe in, and then they'll come up with something that's just sort of not a really valid argument about what the opposition might say in response to their argument. And so I think ChatGPT is wonderful in showing us what that counterpoint might be. And you could even ask, what is the counterpoint to my argument here? And then how would I refute that? And it will help you with idea generation. I love using it for idea generation, or just trying to understand something on a basic level before I head into a meeting, for instance. Okay, the second way that I like using ChatGPT is for phrasing support. So I wrote to it and said, I need some help with phrasing. I basically want to say that the US economy has changed a lot over the years, and the world that we're living in now is not the same as it was when my parents were entering the job market, buying their first home, and paying for college. I want to express that the 2 periods aren't the same and shouldn't be compared, but my audience comes from an older generation and I don't want to insult them. Can you help? See, I'm talking to it like it's a person. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I actually have had a lot of luck in the way that are you hearing this? Oh my gosh, it's not a they, you guys, it's a chat bot. The way that ChatGPT has responded to me in the way that I address it. There we go. It, not them. So it says, certainly you can convey your message respectfully and effectively by doing this. And it actually gives me a little response there. Okay, then I'm going to show you a real life example. So a tutor in the Writing Center is working on their position statement for graduate school, and they're going into I don't know what the program is called, but it's like disabilities education. Okay, so they don't want to use the word coddle, but that's kind of the word that they mean, right? They're wanting to say, well, I'm going to just read this to you. So I want to express the idea that someone was treated in such a way that they weren't given the opportunity to reach their full potential because people were too careful with them. I don't want to use the word coddle, but it's essentially what I mean. Could you help me express this idea without using the word coddle? Certainly. And then it gives me 5 different options. They were sheltered from life's challenges, hindering their growth. Excessive caution stunted their personal development. Overprotective behavior stifled their potential. Like, it's giving us a lot of phrasing, a lot of options that we might use, little phrases or words, new vocabulary that we might incorporate into our position statement as we're applying to graduate school. But honestly, I didn't love everything that how do I make this go away so you can see the bottom? Shoot. I can't read this, Paul. Can I make it go down just a little bit or move this?
I think so. Let me.
So I can, oh, you're so wonderful. Okay.
There you go.
So I wrote, does it change your answer if I say that I'm talking about people with disabilities? I think that people don't know how to work with disabled children, and they do everything for the kids because they don't think that the disabled kids can do it. I want to say that people with disabilities aren't necessarily coddled, and they couldn't reach their potential because of it, blah, blah, blah. So I'm trying to like clarify what it is, the kind of response that I want back from ChatGPT. And ChatGPT wrote back, I understand your context better now. In the case of disabled children, it's important to highlight the need for proper support and encouragement without being overly protective. And actually, I really liked that phrasing right there, better than saying caregivers just coddle students with disabilities too much, right? Because one feels uncaring and one says that we want to highlight the need for proper support. So I actually took that phrasing, but they also came up with some other ideas. Here's some revised ways to express your idea. Due to society's misconceptions about their abilities, disabled children are often overprotected, hindering their natural growth and potential. When disabled children are excessively protected, their opportunities for learning and self-sufficiency are curtailed, preventing them from realizing their true capabilities. Now, this might not be what I actually want to say. So I wouldn't copy and paste this. But what I do like is that it's helping me with the language that I might choose from while I'm putting together or articulating my actual viewpoint, what I want to say. And it's just helping me with the phrasing of it. And I wrote, I like both of your responses. Thanks. You're very welcome. I'm glad you found the responses helpful. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to ask. I love it. So this is how I've used ChatGPT to help me write letters of recommendation, to help my own tutors or clients work on their personal statements, again, with coming up with help with phrasing or help with counterclaims, understanding complex ideas. And again, I don't love the idea of just copying and pasting, especially with AI detectors, and that becomes just complicated with my viewpoints on that. We don't really have time for that today. However, I think it's a great like tutor in your computer or tutor in your phone that you can bounce ideas off of or ask for quick help with a few different aspects of writing. So I wrote back to the tutor and I wrote, do any of these phrases get to the heart of what you wanted to say without using the word coddled? So this is an actual email that I wrote to my tutor to give them ideas for their personal statement or position statement for graduate school. And then what's our time looking like, Paul? 2 minutes. So just quickly, I won't go into any details on these other 4 options, but I have also used ChatGPT to help me with grammar and citation instruction. So if I'm not sure how to cite something from an interview using the latest edition of MLA, it'll tell me how to do that. And I just have to ask it. I could also go to the Purdue OWL. I could go to lots of other websites that are available out there. But this is another resource. This is just another place where you can get free help. ChatGPT for concision. I have typed in entire large paragraphs or full. Okay, I'm going to be really honest. This is really kind of ironic. I wrote a proposal for a conference that I wanted to speak at about ChatGPT. I thought that the proposal needed to be between like 300 and 500 words. It needed to be between 200 and 300 words. Oh no, I wrote way too much. So I highlighted the entire thing. I put it into ChatGPT and said, hi, can you help me cut this down to 200 words? And it did. It wasn't perfect. It didn't get to exactly the heart of what I wanted to say, but boy, did it help me a lot find where the fluff in my writing was. So I used it for help with being more concise. I've used it to understand genre, what goes into a lab report. And then I asked it to write a lab report on what happens when rust appears on a penny or something like that. And then it gave me an example so that I could use that when I'm in a tutorial with somebody writing a lab report. I have no idea if the science was actually accurate. It might have been, it might not have been, but I could at least see what goes into a lab report because I was an English major, and honestly, I haven't written one since high school. And then use ChatGPT as a pre-tutorial resource. If you want to just say, hey, what are the strengths and weaknesses in my writing? Or is my thesis statement good? Did I cite this correctly? It can give you some insights into that. I, of course, recommend that you come into the Writing Center to talk to a human because I still find tremendous value in that. But I also think ChatGPT can be super helpful and revolutionary to writers at the University of Utah. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
And we start the recording.
Okay.
Thank you. And
Thank
but
you.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And